So here was Gerry Brownlee.
G'day, how are you?
Yeah. Hey, look, thanks for your time. And what does today mean to you?
Oh, I think it's a good chance to pick up the best ideas that are coming out from people who actually do make a difference to who is employed and who's not in this country. And I think the overwhelming impression has been one of great desire by these people to see the government do its bit alongside what they're doing to keep jobs alive and to see a bit of expansion even in our economy. Very, very optimistic atmosphere here, and I'm most encouraged by that.
Yep. So I'm really seeing a community feel here where the government and commercial sector are actually starting to get in sync. Is this a sign of the new government?
Well, it's just the way we want to do things. A government can't sit in Wellington and make pronouncements and expect things to happen.
Yep.
It's people who are out in the workplaces who make decisions day by day that eventually determine who has a job and who doesn't, sadly. These guys are very fixed on and focused on keeping jobs in their own workplaces. They want their businesses to expand, and we're listening to what they've got to tell us that we can do to make that more possible.
We've got about 45,000 companies on our current websites, and we help promote these companies to the world and to each other. So a big thing they're keen to understand is working together with the MBD now and understanding that, hey, we're all interested in pushing the economic development of the country forward. Is that the kind of approach we're going to start to see, do you think, or am I taking words out of your mouth?
No, I hope we're going to see that. I'm the Minister for Economic Development, and we're looking at all the programs that operate out of that ministry alongside New Zealand Trade and Enterprise, and we want to ensure that in the current environment those programs are fit for purpose. And that sounds like a bit of political speak, but what it means is that if people are out there doing things and they need a bit of help, then we want to be able to be there to give them that help.
Yep. We deal with a lot of small, medium companies that are taking on the world. So they kind of believe in this whole, we're lean, we're mean, we've been operating with low capital for a long period of time. This might be our time to shine because the rest of the world hasn't got a lot of capital anymore, but they don't know how to live in that environment. Is this an opportunity, do you think?
Well, I hope it is, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if many of those companies do thrive in this difficult time, because that's sort of what New Zealanders do. If people think about the history of entrepreneurship in New Zealand, there's a lot of people who've taken big risks at what might, in an orthodox sense, be the wrong time, and it's paid off. So I think if they're making good consideration of what's possible and getting out there and doing their thing, yep, it's entirely possible, and we would certainly encourage that.
Because you're not actually speaking to a journalist right now. I'm basically an entrepreneur myself, so I've got about 5 businesses. So I'm really involved in growing New Zealand. We've got customers all around the US and the UK and up in Asia and Australia. So we're kind of taking the idea of let's create some media for ourselves, really, because we're keen to kind of get out there now and say we're keen to promote ourselves. We want to see ourselves represented in the mainstream media, and we want to obviously have representation around government. What do you think about the entrepreneur-driven economy?
So what's this sort of like a backup? If the entrepreneur thing doesn't go well, you're a journalism or what? Because you're certainly behaving like a journalist, and except that you talk a lot more than the journalist, so you wouldn't have to do a lot to become a journalist. That's quite fascinating, really. Yeah. What are these 5 businesses?
So one of them is a media company called Startup Media.
Right.
So Startup Media's got a magazine that goes out to 20,000 telecom customers every 2 months. Got a TV series we just completed, but that was following a bunch of startup companies, getting them to high growth stage and trying to get them launched on an international platform. Software company called Plan HQ, made from New Zealand, and made from New Zealand's global business community. So we've got thousands of Kiwi entrepreneurs and companies on there, and we're helping them connect up and network, and then promoting them to the world. So we're trying to increase New Zealand's visibility on Google around our products, around our industries. So they're our major ones, and I run a cycling community up in the UK, so we get companies competing with each other to cycle to work, and we also just brought that back into New Zealand this month and got about 2 million kilometres cycled this month and about 14,000 people involved. So really big on building online communities out of New Zealand. All our design and development's done here. Got our own film crew sitting here as well, and we bring as much foreign exchange in as we possibly can from offshore.
That's fascinating. So how do you actually get revenue out of a cycling community?
So cycling communities in the UK are funded at the moment through council, and the way it kind of works, some of it's being social marketing funding, but where it's moving to is they can defer their investment in transport infrastructure, they can increase productivity of the overall workforce, because if someone arrives in the morning pumped up after having a ride, that's a bit different, and also it's reducing CO2 emissions. And what you start to get is a personal CO2 factor, basically, so you can have, say, 14,000 people, each of them now have a carbon footprint and in a daily reduction they're making. So you can start to actually get a direct economic argument to go, hey, either we can defer that transport infrastructure investment of $20 million in that main road if we can get 1,500 people cycling to work on a regular basis.
And the dollar in it for you is?
Well, so the dollar in us at the moment, we run that community. Right. So it's a piece of software, we develop the software, run it online.
And they buy the software off
They buy the software, yeah. And it's a community, so we kind of run it together.
Yeah. Have you noticed how I've become the journalist? And you've
Yeah,
become
it's
the
good. I like it. This is great.
Yeah. Okay, you go back to being the journalist now.
That's all right. So, I guess what's the message you'll be giving to small, medium business right now?
Well, I think don't be at all pessimistic about what your long-term future is. This is, as you would have seen this morning, unique circumstances. The world's largest ever loss of wealth occurred in the last, really in the last 6 months, and nothing stays flat forever. If you look out here, you can see all the activity going on.
Yeah.
People are still doing things. People have to do things. It's human nature. So once a lot of this, I guess you'd say that the confusion that's out there at the moment gets sorted out, and it may take time. People are sort of saying it could be a year, could be anything up to 5 years. Once that's done, the opportunities that were there just a wee while ago, which are still there now, will be yielding much bigger results and opportunities for people. So I'd say don't be at all pessimistic. Be confident about the ideas that you've got, and back yourself. That's really what it does require.
Really appreciate you taking the time with us.
No worries at all.
Cheers, Gerry.
See you later.
Thanks, mate.
No worries.